I'm convinced we're the most cursed team in professional sports.
You guys are bad.
I've been saying this hot take for a long time, and I'm sticking to it. My hot take is that Will McDonald's going to hit 15 sacks.
No member of the New York Jets' Week 1 offensive line will miss a game all year.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time! So get ready to rumble!
Oh. It's time, baby. It's time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's time.
I am dressed like I am portraying as a Jet. What's up, Chaos? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm hoping it's your internet connection that's bad and it's not me. But I got to watch our YouTube channel and see who it is. Oh, it looks like I'm doing pretty good. As I look down, it looks like you're the new freeze bean. Oh, you're moving around. I can see you. You seem to be okay now. I don't know if I could hear you, but I could see you. Oh, you're frozen again. Oh, well, it looks like it's Chaos doing chaos. No, but seriously, folks, I have no control. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. We got the logo, DZ. Some people might say that's the demilitarized zone. But no, Dano. You see, Dano, what we need you to do is we need you to connect to your phone if you have a smartphone with a good Verizon or AT&T signal. If you can't do that, you got problems, bro. You got problems. Anyway, I'll say hello to people that I could see in the chat from my phone. What's up? Justin Ocho is here. We saw the Jets Lounge in the intro doing the Jets chants at. Oh, I'm back. Okay, I don't know if I was off. So what's up, Justin? We got Dino in the house. Tony Alexio's here. Sean McAteer, who, by the way, is the guardian of Temecula. Temecula is an area just north of San Diego, about 30 miles, 35 miles. And Sean McAteer is one of 3 men who defend and keep Temecula. And let's see, anybody else here? Billy SBC is here. He's saying, is it Frank Reich time yet? I don't know, man. They're talking to a few candidates. I don't know if those candidates are to work with Frank Reich or to be the OC. That's what it's like, a big circus is what it is. Iowa Jet says, fix your shit, Dano. Chop, chop. E-Boogie's in the house. What's going on, E-Boogie? Yeah, hopefully he'll get it working. Otherwise, this is not going to be the shortest show we've ever had on a Sunday night. He did set it up that I could see the chat, so that's cool. So that's a good thing. Hey, man, I think that what we wanted to talk about is the circus that's going on right now for the New York Jets. We are talking to a bunch of people. I just want to remind everybody, okay, that since he took the job, Aaron Glenn has told us that he has a plan. Okay. Now, obviously, his plan changed when we were 0-7, right? 1-7, then we made the trades or what have you. And Brady Cook came in, that whole thing, and just stayed and played, and that whole thing. And he said, well, he still said, hold on to the rope, this, that. I have a plan. And then he fired his, defensive coordinator and demoted his offensive coordinator, who we all know left and took another job because who would stay in those conditions? And fired, most of the staff underneath him, right? So all of a sudden we have all these openings, right? All these jobs that need to be filled. Yet we also don't have a quarterback, right? So they're looking into all these possibilities for quarterback. So there's no plan for quarterback, really. There was no plan when we said we had a plan as far as what offense we're going to run, what defense we're going to run, because he didn't even have the coordinators, right? At first, Wilkes was going to run the defense. Let's run it through. And then magically now we're talking to Wink, who is no way going to, and then suddenly he wants to call the play. There's no plan. Could we at least admit that, even if you're the most positive person in the world? Could we at least admit that there is no plan? Can we admit that? Really, is anybody denying that? I'm wearing underwear now. So DayngerZone does a super chat. He says, chaos will never die. But anyway, so I think we could really be honest about the fact that there's no plan. And that, what I think his idea of a plan, and this is really scary, is we're going to get good players and we're going to coach them to win. That's his plan. Like, his plan is that of a 10-year-old. When I was 10 years old and became a football fan, I could have written out that plan. Oh, there's this thing called the draft where you select players. Oh, okay. Select the best players you can. And then bring in coaches and try to score a lot of points on offense and try to stop them from scoring points on defense. What's the plan? He said he had a plan. I'm just asking, what could his plan possibly be? How could there have been a plan if he's firing everybody? How is it possible that there was a plan? Jeremy, thoughts on Woody being named in the files? Says this doesn't get them to sell the team, then absolutely nothing will. I wonder if it comes out with a statement or not. Right now, the issue with those files is he did parties also, like legitimate. I don't know if it was legitimate. I can't say that for sure. But supposedly, right, because there are pictures of Trump at his house, right? But that doesn't mean he's guilty. Nobody's saying Trump is definitely guilty, right? Trump was there. Clinton was there. Right? Women were there too. Husband and wives were there. They had lots of parties and meetings and things go on at that house. So I don't know if it was all related to pedophilia or whatever you want to call it. Pedophilia, what's the plural of that? I don't know. But I don't know. So I think it's going to be based on an individual basis of person by person. And is there evidence that they did wrongdoing? Because somebody could have been invited to his islands and just went innocently going, oh, I heard it's a great time, or went for meetings or whatever it was, because he had a lot of political influence. So I don't know. But if it turns out that he did some wrongdoing, if they have evidence against him, then hopefully he would be, he'd be forced to sell the team. Right? I mean, if there was evidence that he had sex with a 15-year-old girl, that was basically being, what he did. He kind of, took advantage of them, right? I mean, whatever it was, and he used money. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they were willing or not. They were 15. They weren't allowed, right? It's still rape. So if there's some kind of evidence and it comes out that he had relations with a 15-year-old girl, then, which is, by the way, disgusting when you look at Woody, no pun intended. I think that I think there's a chance he'd be forced to sell the team. I mean, maybe they would try to have his brother take over. I don't know. But I mean, you need evidence though, right? Being named in the file, I don't think is enough because there's going to be so many names in that file. So I don't see that as something that's going to get him forced to sell the team. So we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see. Yeah, we're talking about Woody. He was in the files, Charles. He was in the files, in Epstein files. But we don't know the details, right? As far as I know, there are no details. Until you have details, because there can be so many people in that file that did nothing wrong, right? They're not always, it's not going to be everybody, every name in that file is guilty. So we just don't know. But I will say for the most part, we don't have that kind of luck that Woody would somehow there'd be evidence against them that would get him forced to sell the team. And our luck, it would be the brother that took over, and he would just go back to that consulting firm, the 33 team or whatever. And we would be, and they're the ones that got us AG. So if you're happy with that hire, then I guess you'll be happy with it. It's an ugly state of affairs. But look, I'm gonna say the most optimistic thing I could say. Okay. This is the most positive, optimistic outlook I could have. I've said it before. You may have heard me say it before. I've tweeted it. It's a shit show. We know it's a shit show. We know there was no plan. That's just talk. It's just press media talk. We have a plan. I mean, you can call anything a plan. You have a plan to win. All 32 teams in the NFL have a plan. If you're talking about they want to get the best players possible and win, but there was no secret plan where he made it look like they had this whole direction and they had this whole thing figured out and what they were going to do. That's all just a load of nonsense, right? We know that now. We know that to be true. It's nonsense. But here's my hope. Here's my thread of hope, the light of hope, the thing that could be something that could be true. And it's not automatic, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying it could happen. Here's the thing that could happen. What could happen is we could suck this year. I know Charles knows that's true, right? Like it could be true. Yeah, we're going to suck, right? This is a mess, and we're going to be really, really bad. Okay? But here's the thing. If we're really, really bad, and if this really is, we don't know it is, I'm not saying it 100% factually is, but if it is a good quarterback class, okay, I don't know that it 100% is. They said it about 26, right? We don't know. All the guys that they have listed that are going to be so great might, just like this year, start playing, every Saturday, and one by one, they all start dropping off like flies. Like that one's not that good, overrated, right? We don't know. We don't know. But I'm saying if there's a few special quarterbacks that come out, right, in that draft, and it looks like it's one of the richer quarterback drafts, and we really suck, and suck to the point where we have the 3rd or 4th overall pick. I don't know, maybe the 2nd pick again. I don't know, maybe the 1st pick. I don't know. But imagine we're a disaster. We have a top 5 pick or whatever it is. And suddenly a few good quarterbacks come out. And let's say the world is really excited about them. There's debate. Which one should you take? Should it be this guy, or this guy? Everybody will probably have Arch Manning as number 1, but maybe there'll be 2 or 3 guys fighting for who's the 2nd and best and who's the 3rd best. And it's a good quarterback class. Okay. And now the NFL just fired and replaced 10 coaches. 10 coaches. Which means there might be a reduction in the amount of coaches looking for jobs next year. Because when you go through team by team, when you go through the NFL, there doesn't look like there's going to be, other than Aaron Glenn, a lot of coaches on the hot seat. The 10 first-year coaches are not on the hot seat, right? Typically. And when you look at the rest of the teams, some people scream Shanahan. Let them fire Kyle Shanahan. We'll go after him. What I'm saying is you might have some good coaching candidates, not a lot of competition, and we have a top pick to get a real quarterback plus 2 more first-round picks to go after it. And that might bring in a real coach. That is the glimmer of hope that and everything in a year from now could be different because of that. New coach, about to draft a new quarterback, and everything, it just feels a little bit better. That's how fast something can turn on a dime. Dano, welcome back to the show.
Tell me you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, fantastic, man. Over here living the dream. I didn't get to hear a lot of that. I heard a little bit of the Woody stuff, and yeah, interesting developments there. But yeah, man, happy Sunday night, man. Glad everyone is here joining us. This fantastic production by me so far. Glad to pry you folks away from the Grammys. I know you probably were all watching those. So welcome. Spike that like button if you're entertained. Did you get into any of the news of the week, Chaos? Any of that at all?
I was just talking about the situation, about how things could turn around and get better. And just the last thing I was going to do is address Boss Girl's comment and say, hey, Boss Girl, I'm not trying to stomp on your positivity, but the Washington Commanders were in the NFC East Championship game, or the NFC Conference Championship game just last season, and they have what appears to be a real quarterback. So their situation is a little different than ours. They may have fired some coaches, but it's hard to call them a circus act when they just had that kind of success. And also, we don't talk about Washington because we're Jets fans. So nobody said, so that's why we don't talk about the Redskins a lot. We don't talk about a lot of teams' problems a lot, because we don't talk about Cleveland's problems a lot, because we're not Cleveland. We're not a Cleveland's Browns content channel. We're a Jets content channel. And I respect anyone who could stay positive in these moments. I'm trying to be positive by saying how fast things can turn, by saying if we suck this year, it could turn on a dime because we might have a great draft pick. We can then get another coach. And guess what? If we don't suck this year, then there's your hope, right? If that falls through, if for some reason we win 7 to 9 games, there's your hope. Something must have went well. So I'm not being positive. But right now, the search for the offensive coordinators and what happened with the defensive search, it's a shit show. It just is. It is. When you're talking to Wink Martindale, and then at the same time wondering if you want to call plays, you know that Wink Martindale's not going to take the job if he's not calling the plays. So that means that Aaron Glenn didn't know what he was doing. Like, he's just going by the flies, just day by day, making crazy decisions. I'll do this, I'll do that. It's not the decision for him to call the defensive plays that freaks me out. It's that he was just 4 days later talking to Wink Martindale on a second interview. Like, what the? It's a circus. That's a circus.
I don't know, man. Rough. It's hard to be positive. February 1st. You gotta wait and see. I don't know what else to say. We have some things going on now. We had the Senior Bowl, Jeremy. I don't know how much of that you got to see. But if we don't spin it toward the future, man, we can just revel in the negativity. Did you get to see anything out of the Senior Bowl action? Maybe a little bit of.
I thought it was nice. I thought it was nice to see Nussmeier went healthy again and playing well, being healthy again, and people forgetting that his off year he was playing injured. Also, the reports were he looked great from day 2 and day 3 of the practices from our friends that were there. I don't know if that makes him a first round pick, but it does make him another guy that's interesting for day 2 or day 3. Just another interesting name. I think Sawyer Robertson's an interesting name. I'm not saying any of these guys will hit, but I just think they're interesting. They're just interesting guys. I mean, obviously, Ty Simpson is still interesting. Trinidad is still interesting. Like they're not guys I want to see us take at 16, but it's just interesting because they're guys that you could later in the draft, maybe we're going to see one of them end up on our team, and it's not a huge like investment. So they're just going to get a chance. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. We'll draft a quarterback next year. But if we looks like we have something, maybe we solve a problem. So I like how Nussmeier played. I'm glad that he did. It just puts another guy in there that potentially could be a dart throw that ends up being a decent player. He's certainly got the leadership skills for it.
I think he is firmly on the radar for us now. Like, I don't know when, you know what I mean? I don't. But Nussmeier, I think there's a Robertson that was there. I need to learn more about. A
Yeah,
couple other guys.
Sawyer Robertson's like 6'3", 6'4", 220 pounds, tough as nails. And what I like about him is if you watch his film, he can make every throw on the route tree. Like he could throw with touch. He doesn't throw one speed. He could throw with touch. He could drop the ball in, or he could laser it in, and he could throw a ball 65, 70. You know, he's got a rocket. So he's just an interesting day 3 guy.
And hey, that's what we are probably in the market of. We may have to, if we go Ty Simpson, obviously, or even Nussmeier, it's probably gonna have to be before day 3, right? Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think we would have to trade back. We'd have to trade back. I mean, like trade back either 32, 33, or 45, or use one of those picks, which I don't think will be popular. Like I think if we use 45, it would be digestible, but not popular. I think people want 4 real players on this team. Like before we throw a dart at quarterback, I think everybody wants to see us try to hit the bullseye and get 4 day 1 starters on this team with those top 4 picks.
I think so too. And it's just because of how many holes we have, right? Like we need massive contributors everywhere. And we have, I don't know how many first seconds this year and next year combined, but like, what do we need? 10 starters? I mean, out of that, if you trade up next year, boom, there goes like 3 of your picks, So hopefully we don't have to trade up, And I'm not saying we're going to suck. I'm saying, hey, us or the Colts or Dallas hopefully will suck enough where we don't have to lose 3 of these premium assets and we can get, 8, 9 starters and a quarterback, man. Dream scenario, right?
That's the dream.
If you can get a quarterback this year, day 2 or 3, that's promising, it's even better dream. It is.
That's the thing. And I think that pick 104, that pick at 104 or 105, whichever it is, I keep mixing it up. I think that there's a chance. I mean, the way I would have it is people are asking me, I would have like the 3 or 4 quarterbacks or however many there happen to be that I'd be willing to throw a dart at. Like, right? Like my personal list would have guys like Sawyer Robertson and Drew Aller and Nussmeier, and Trinidad. And then when it came to pick 104, I would have that list in ranking of how I like them. And if any of them were there, or if multiple ones of them were there, I'd go by my order and I would use that pick. I would use that 4th round pick on a quarterback. That's what I would do. And I would do it knowing that if they don't show out in camp and they don't give us confidence and we give them any chance to play and they don't show some kind of flash, that we're not going to let it mess with our plan to take a quarterback in 27.
Just give me a minute to fumble my mic. But I like the idea. I do. It's just you better hit that because you mentioned 104, and I don't have it off the top. Well, I'm pretty sure 104 is the only pick we have from 44 to 172. The only one, and that's like 130 picks. So if you do that, A, 104, be right, and B, come away with 4 starters in the top 50, contributors, big time contributors. That way, you know, we're not sitting here thinking, why didn't we trade back? We could have filled in some gaps there. You know what I mean? Um, be firm in your beliefs of who you're taking, and then you can, you know, if you get 4 good, solid contributors in the top 50, you can feel like, hey, I can take a dart. You know what I mean? I can take a flyer on a guy,
I
and we
think the,
can. Well, yeah,
I think the most valuable way, like and I'm not saying we should do this. This won't be popular, but I think the most valuable way that we could get a 3rd round pick and fill that giant gap, and even add a 2nd round pick, or something next year, like that kind of thing. I think that the pick to trade, the deal we could make that could bring in picks, and I know people will hate next year picks because very impatient the fan base, right? But the reality is it's a 2-year build, so it doesn't make much of a difference to me. As much as it hurts in the short term, if the big value is that we get a great extra picks next year too, I could live with that. But I think the value is if Sonny Styles and Lemon, whoever they love, is off the board at 16. That's the pick. That's the pick. That pick, 16, that's the pick you could trade back 7 spots and get a bunch of picks. We did it. We traded from 24 or wherever it was to 17 or 18 to get AVT. And we had to give like a 2nd and a 3rd round pick. We had to give a haul of day 2 picks. So I know, the value is there for a team that wants to come up. If there's a team that wants to come up for a cornerback, because there's going to be a lot of really top-notch cornerbacks, and I don't see us taking a cornerback at 16, but I could see another team wanting to trade up to take a cornerback or a tackle or, whoever, a position we're just not looking to take. You frozen? He might be frozen, folks. So someone said, who might they come up and trade for? Who would you come up and trade for at 16? An example of that is you might have a team that wants to trade up Pete Woods. If Sonny Styles and Lemon are off the board, that means Pete Woods may have slipped, the defensive tackle from Clemson. That's an example of if I'm a team at 25, 24, and they need a defensive tackle, their defense is weak up the middle, and they're, that's a good playoff team, and that's the spot they're trying to fill. That's the cream in the coffee. That's a team that might come up and try to deal with us and move up into the 16th spot to get a guy like that. So that's just an example, but there's a couple of cornerbacks that might be there at 16 that we don't have an interest in. At least I don't think we have an interest in a cornerback. So we just have to see. Yeah, Dano's having trouble, man. Dano's having some trouble. Someone's saying, I saw a mention of quarterback in the 1st rounds. It's possible. It's possible we trade back to 26 and take a quarterback. It's possible we take a quarterback at 16, right? We don't know what they're going to do. We don't know. We've seen teams do crazy stuff, man. Crazy stuff. Like, we really don't know. It doesn't mean I'm saying that we should do it, but that doesn't mean we won't. The Jets, they might take Ty Simpson at 16. They might take Trinidad Shibley at 16. They might do it. If Shibley's even going to be in the draft, I know he's fighting the decision, so we don't know 100% yet if he's going to be in it. But they might do it. If they love the guy, let's say they love Nussmeier. Let's say they love him. They might say, screw it, we're not going to take a chance. And they're going to grab him at 16 because they love him. Right? We don't know. We don't know. We might be pissed if they do that. Some people won't be pissed. Some people will be jumping up and doing jumping jacks if they took Ty Simpson. We don't know. We simply don't know because we're not the GM. I know I wouldn't do it. I would trade back and do it, but like if someone says, yeah, but Jeremy, what if you traded back and then Ty Simpson wasn't there? I'd say, well, I didn't want him bad enough to use 16. I'm fine with the backup plan. I'm fine with getting more draft capital and filling more spots if he's not there and just taking like Anthony Hill, the linebacker or something out of Texas, whatever the hell his name is. I mean, that's the thing. You always have to have backup plans. You also have to, ways to alternate and shift. But, I mean, it just depends. Depends how much they like him. You know, and I know people might be pissed. People might go ape shit crazy if we were to use 16 on Ty Simpson. But let me tell you something. If he hits, nobody's mad. Nobody criticizes a pick if the guy hits. Nobody cares later on. The Jets take Ty Simpson and he hits. You can't say, oh, well, we could have traded back and got more draft capital and gotten him anyway, so we could have done even better. You don't know that because maybe the Steelers would have grabbed him. Right? You could name other teams that need a quarterback that go behind us at 6, even after 16. So there's no, if they love him, they might take him. If they love him. Tate at 2, Styles at 16, Branch at 33. I would love that outcome. But Oscar, but I don't think that Styles is slipping at 16. I don't know how Styles makes it past Dallas, to be honest. I was looking at the list. Someone said it, and I looked at the draft order, and I looked at it and thought about it, and I said, holy shit, they're right. How does Sonny Styles make it past Dallas? Dallas has one of the best offenses in football. They need defense. They need to stop the run. They need a guy who could sometimes create pressure. How is Sonny Styles going to make it past Dallas? How would they not take him? The only way I could see it is like normally you'd say, well, they have an offensive-minded head coach. The problem with that is Jerry Jones doesn't let the coach run the team. We all know that. It's Jerry Jones. So it's all about what he loves. But then I have a counter argument, though, for the Dallas Cowboys of why they wouldn't take Sonny Styles. And that counter argument is Jeremiah Love, right? Because would you put it past the Cowboys to take him? They're going to need a running back. Their running back right now is a free agent, right? And he's not that he's the greatest running back in the world. He had an ACL already for Denver when they got him. You know, he was the North Carolina running back. That was the other half of our guy. Remember Michael Carter. So that's another way Dallas could go that would push Sonny Styles down to us. I just don't see how we can't count on Sonny Styles being there at 16, though. As much as I would love to see him there, it'd be very, very hard. But it is power, right? We've seen it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world because linebacker, especially not an outside edge linebacker, but just a linebacker, is it doesn't have the high position value as much anymore, right? For the most part. For the most part, it's edge. Sometimes it's cornerback, right? They're even saying that, like Downs, as good as he is, Downs might make it out of the top 10 or near the back to like, it's hard to imagine, but he might. People like to go after the top 2 or the 3 offensive tackles early when that's their need. If they already have their quarterback or whatever it is, or there's no quarterback, people love wide receivers, right? People love wide receivers. They like cornerbacks. If there's a great cornerback, you don't see a lot of like middle linebacker types. Like if it's a linebacker, it's an outside linebacker and a 3-4. That's really an edge, right? Otherwise, you don't see it that often is all I'm saying. So position value wise, you might see Sonny Styles there at 16. It would be great. I mean, I think we should sprint to the podium. The problem is if Lemon was there too, I don't see how it's possible. There's no way I could calculate this being humanly possible. But if Lemon and Styles were both there at 16, I feel bad for Muji. That's a rough one. But if we had already taken a wide receiver at 2, like Tate, then it's not so rough. It's an easy decision. But really, really hard to see any of that happening, which is why I think that 16 could be something we trade. Because if those 2 are off the board, when I look at the guys that are on the board, I don't want to take Sadiq at 16. I don't. I want him. He's a great player. If we trade it back to 21, 22, 23, I'll take Sadiq. He's a great weapon and everything, but I just think the needs that we have, I mean, he's a weapon, so it's nothing wrong if we got him. It would be nothing wrong. I just would prefer if we were to get Sadiq, it would be trading back and adding an extra 2nd or 3rd round pick and then grab him, and that's fine with me. But getting him at 16 is it's a little wishy for me. Because we invested in Mason Taylor already last year, so I don't like having to, double down on tight ends when we have all these other needs. So Dano is resetting his router. That being said, if we took Sadiq, I'd be as excited as anyone else because it would still be really exciting to have a player of that kind of magnitude. I really like Michael Trigg. That's the tight end that Sawyer Robertson throws the ball to. I think it's Baylor, so you should all check out that guy, Michael Trigg. That's the tight end that I like. Remember I like that guy, what's his name? Fance or whatever. The guy that went to Harold Raymond or Rainin. I forgot what his name is. He plays for Cleveland. He got drafted by Cleveland. He's the receiving tight end that I loved last year that I already forgot the name of. Fannin. So anyway, Trigg is my new Fannin. You know what I mean? He's a weapon. Trigg is a guy you line up in the slot. He's a weapon. Like, really, watch his highlights, watch his film, whatever you have access to. He's a freaking weapon. He reminds me of Fannin. He's a weapon. I think he might even be better than Fannin. So anyway, AJ Halsey. I would love to get Halsey at. I'll be happy with Halsey at 33. I'm higher on him than most. I'd be perfectly happy with AJ Halsey at 33. I don't think we're getting him at 45. So I think the only way we can get him is 33, or if we end up making some kind of trade and end up in a weird spot. But I like the safety from Toledo as well, Emmanuel Warren or something like that. So, he looked pretty good, and I heard good things about him too. So who's been a fast riser on my board so far this season? That's an interesting one. My board hasn't changed dramatically. I think I would have to say Nussmeier now has. Trigg has AJ Halsey has went up my board. Actually, I had him as 45 at the highest when I a month ago even, and now I have him at. I'd be happy taking him at 33. So I would be, so he's moved up my board. The fastest riser though, I'm trying to think if there's a guy this year that's come like really far up. I didn't go to the Senior Bowl, so it's not like I fell in love with someone new. That's like out of nowhere. I don't know. I mean, I kind of had Nussmeier as like a 4th round pick, and now after seeing him healthy again, it reminded me of what he's like when he's healthy. So he's a guy I see as a 2nd rounder now. Like I'd be really happy if they took Nussmeier is a guy that if they took at 45, I wouldn't be upset as much as I want 4 players. So I guess you could say he's come up my board a lot. I think from 3 months ago, Bain has. I've had Bain as top 10. Now I have him as. I wouldn't mind taking him at 2. So he's come up my board in the last couple of months. The college playoff, whatever, that run of games moved him up my board. So there hasn't been there's no real guy though that's really come up a lot on my board though. Like right now I'm still kind of pretty much consistent to where I was even a month ago. What's up, Dana? You redid your router. I thought it was better.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, dude, if it messes up again, it's just not in tonight. I'm trying my best. I appreciate you holding it down, man.
Yeah, if you don't get it going, we'll just end it in about 15 minutes. But and it is what it is. This just happens sometimes. Usually it's me, so I'm just surprised that it's you. Yeah, he's struggling, man. This is like when I used to work with Green Bean.
Yeah. You know what, Dad? We got like Ziply fiber.
He said something about fiber. He said something about fiber.
Oh shit. Do thing, brother. I'm gonna see what I can do, and then I'll kill it when you're done. Okay.
Okay. I do want to say that Dano had great internet when he lived in Pittsburgh. So we're gonna blame this one on the lady. Somebody decided to go 3,000 miles to shack up. And now he's got no internet. Infrared, man, you're not happy about the team, huh? But like I said, shaved fiber, that's what it would be. Like I said, I'll say it again, I'll say it a million times. As bad as it might be, and as bad as people might feel, and boss girl like this, that I'm saying it like this. There's either they're going to surprise us and do well, boss girl, right? They're going to surprise us and do well. So then it won't be bad. We'll feel better. Oh my God, we were wrong about some things, right? Or they'll be as bad as most of us think they're going to be, right? And I know that sucks, and it's going to be a miserable year, except for draft day. That'll be exciting. The 4 days of the draft are going to be fun. We have a lot of picks, 4 in the top 50. That's going to be fun, right? And then, by the way, free agency too. I don't think that it's going to completely turn us around and make us feel amazing. But if we're not good next year and we have a good draft pick and we fire Glenn and get a good coach, which I think would be possible if we have a good draft pick, it could turn around. And we've seen that exact thing happen. We've seen teams live that reality. They're terrible, terrible. And then there's the one magic year where they get the top 3 pick and they get the quarterback, and that attracts the coach, and they get the decent coach, and blah, blah, blah. The next thing you know, they build a team. And the nice thing about us is we actually have the picks to do it. Taylor Green was a guy that Tony the GM liked last year, but then he kind of soured on him. So I don't know. I don't know what just happened, but he uploaded something. He's trying to help me out here. Oh, he wanted me to talk about what the title of the show is about, which is offensive coordinator interviews. So it looks like Curry is out. Linda Wells is out. And we see Roman, Frank Reich, and Bevel. Now, there's some people daring to dream that Frank Reich is going to be like the CEO of the thing, like the offensive coordinator, and that Greg Roman and Bevel are going to work under him. Like one's a quarterback coach, the other's like the pass scheme guy or the run scheme guy. I don't know. I think that's all nonsense. I think that we're going to hire one of these guys. That's what I think. We're going to hire one of these guys. I think that something is stalling the Reich thing. So something's going on there, because why didn't that happen? I don't know. Maybe they're taking their sweet time. Maybe he's talking to somebody else. Maybe he's considering something else. I don't think we have to panic about any of this, because I honestly feel that, if it's terrible, then they'll all be gone next year anyway. This is all just like, it's like hiring interim coordinators, right? If we're good and we win a lot of games, then somehow it's working and people are doing a good job, and we could all just shut up, right? But if they suck, if we're all yelling that these guys are has-beens and we suck, they're all gone anyway. They're all gone. So there you go. They'll all be gone anyway. If Frank Reich brings us Andrew Luck, I'm in, but he's not bringing us Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's not coming back. Oscar the Grouch says, Jeremy, is Kevin O'Connell a 27 realistic possibility? He would give our team instant credibility. I think if he likes the quarter, if it depends on where we draft. You cannot overstate how much, when you're going after a coach that has choices, right? Especially an offensive-minded coach, how they care about the quarterback situation, right? Why did Ben Johnson go to the Chicago? Why did Liam Cohn go to Tampa? Because they had quarterbacks. They take the best opportunity for quarterback. It's simple. Coaches aren't stupid. If you want to succeed, you're taking a team that has a quarterback. right? But if we have the number 2 pick in the draft and there's 2 quarterbacks that the coach, a coaching candidate like Kevin O'Connell deeply believes in, he's going to say the Jets look like a great place for me to go. I'll get a quarterback that I love, and I have 2 more first-round picks on top of that. You have to imagine that if some of our picks from this year are going to be good, budding young players, the offensive line seems pretty well put together. You still got Garrett Wilson on a long-term contract. You still have Mason Taylor locked up and A.Z. Thomas. And if assuming if they don't suck and they take the next step, you have right? I mean, you have pieces, and then all of a sudden, you have money. They're gonna have free agency money. So suddenly it's realistic. Why wouldn't he come here? They got a good offensive line. I could draft my quarterback. I got a true WR1. I got whoever they picked in the draft. Why not? I mean, especially if there's not a ton of competition. And you have to help find me the competition. Like, where's the competition? The 10 teams that just hired a coach most likely will not be looking for a coach because one and done is not common, right? And then go through the NFL list and tell me which teams are going to be looking for a new coach. Maybe the Colts. But that's a good thing because if the Colts are looking for a new head coach, that means their number 1 pick is a great pick for us because that means they imploded. And they don't have a good quarterback situation. And they're not going to have a good draft pick to get a new quarterback. So they're not real competition. Who's going to take that job? If they fire their coach, they don't have a number 1 pick. Who's their quarterback? Right? We're going to have their pick. So they're not competition. Some people are murmuring about the 49ers and how they get impatient and how their fans are saying, fire Shanahan. Well, good. Let them fire Shanahan. That becomes our candidate. That's my number 1 candidate if we get Shanahan. So let them, if they steal O'Connell, fine, we'll take Kyle Shanahan. Let's walk before we could run. How about that? Let's worry about whether Shanahan could win the big game or win the Super Bowl. Let's worry about that later. Let Shanahan come here and build a real team. And then we'll worry. Same thing with Tomlin. And then we'll worry about winning a Super Bowl. But can we turn the organization around first? We're really going to be that picky? Are we expecting to get a coach that has Super Bowl rings on his fingers? I mean, what are we talking about here, people? Right? So the way I see it, and people can tell me what I'm wrong, when I look at the list of teams, I don't see how there's going to be so much competition for us. You got 10 teams with head coaches. You have teams with good coaches. Like some didn't make the playoffs. You have to look at eliminate the bottom 10. They just got new coaches. And then most of the teams that were in the playoffs are probably not going to be looking for new coaches. And then what do you got left? What do you got left? You got 12, 14 teams that make the playoffs, probably not looking for new coaches, right? 2 of them already were eliminated, were fired or whatever, or one of them was, right? So those teams are out of the picture, right? The worst teams that, like the worst teams that the other teams like Tennessee that got new coaches, Cleveland, they're not going to be looking for new coaches. There's only a handful of teams that even fit the category. And right now, how many teams do you know of right now where the head coach is on the hot seat? If you think about the NFL right now, name a team whose coach will be on the hot seat next year. I'm not saying there are none. I'm asking for help. If you can think of one, that's fine, right? But the teams that might have have coaches that are on the hot seat, those are coaches that would be upgrades for us. They wouldn't be bad candidates. Plus, Jeremy, no head coach has won Super Bowl with 2 teams, so Shanahan can get fired and then come win the Super Bowl with us. There you go. There you go, boss girl. I mean, look, Shanahan would be a dream for me. I would be so happy if we got him. That'd be the greatest thing in the world. And the only thing that makes it possible when people say, oh, that can't happen, that the Niners would never fire him. Really? Because I don't know about that. Because I live out here, and these fans are nuts. The Bay Area is nuts. They still think they're living in Joe Montana days. They think they're entitled to Super Bowls every year. It hasn't occurred to them that they haven't been, that they were in a Super Bowl in 2015, but things aren't the same for them. that they're a regular team now. The dynasty's over. They don't know that. They still run around screaming, if you can't win Super Bowls, you can't be a coach here. That's their attitude. So I don't know. But I'm just making a point. You know, I see Bowles could be on the hot seat. That's a good one. Yeah, that's no argument there, Scott. That's a good one. That's a good call. Bowles could be on the hot seat, and I don't want Bowles. So that would be a competitor with us. Then it becomes, where do you want to where do you want to go? Do you want to go to Tampa with Baker, where you know his ceiling, you know what he is? He's a good quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. He's a good quarterback. Or you come to the Jets, and we're sitting there dangling the number 2 pick, and you got guys like Dante Moore and Arch Manning and Sellers, whoever you want to name. They're going to have, right? There's going to be all these guys coming out. Then it's just up to, it's up to that coach. So, but Tampa Bay is a really good one. That's one that might be looking for a coach. No question about it. Bulls can be on the toilet bowl. Yeah, I don't want Bulls. I think most of us don't want Bulls. If Bowles' seat is hot, he might need a bidet. Yeah. Choosing between Shanahan and O'Connell are the problems that I would love to have as a Jets fan. Either one of them is great with me. Right. So, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And I'm not guaranteeing any of this. I'm just saying, as bad as things are, there's really going to be 2 possibilities, right? One is, we are that bad, and it's what I'm saying right now, that we're going to have a very good draft pick, and we're going to be looking for a new coach, and we might get a new quarterback, new coach, and that doesn't mean it's going to work, but it gives us the hope, right? Right now, it's more than we have right now. Right now, 90% of Jet fans have no confidence in Aaron Glenn right now, right? 90% at least. That might be, let's just pretend it's 90%. 90%. We don't have a quarterback now, right? We don't even know who our quarterback's going to be. And we have 90% of the fan base not happy with the coach. In a year from now, we might have 80% of the fan base happy with the coach because we fired him and hired a new one if we suck. Or happier, maybe not thrilled, but they're happier. And we might be in line to get a quarterback. So we're going to feel better. It's going to be better, right? Or this is a big or, we win. We're a winning team for some weird reason. That we're not terrible. We're good, which means weird things had to happen, right? Like suddenly we got a quarterback that we brought in, an interim quarterback that's actually doing well. And the coach, it looks like he hired the right coordinators, and maybe Aaron Glenn being in charge of the defense made a difference. And maybe the offensive guy he ends up hiring does a good job, and the offensive line takes off, and we're running the ball. And well, I got like, holy cow, I can't believe this is happening kind of stuff. Well, in that case, we're feeling better. But I've seen teams that are a mess, that are a shit show, very quickly turn it around, because when you hit rock bottom, everybody gets fired, new people come, you have draft picks, and if the right guy happens to be in that draft, you don't know what's going to happen. The Eagles are an example of that. The Eagles once went out and got this guy from the Oregon Ducks, a coach named Chip Kelly. You all know who Chip Kelly is. Well, he blew the Eagles up, man. He blew that organization up. They were a mess. When he was gone, their fans were devastated. The city was in an uproar. They were like we are right now. They were pissed. They were furious. And it wasn't that long. I don't want to say anything that's incorrect. I don't know how many years it took. Rusty Spooner, he's a guy who can tell you. But it didn't take that long for the Eagles to be in a Super Bowl again or competing in the playoffs again. Like once they got rid of Chip Kelly, they quickly turned it around. So I'm just saying, if you said, what hope is there? Why are you still a Jet fan, Jeremy? What keeps you going? What keeps me going is they're either going to start winning some games, and Boss Girl's going to get to tell everybody that, yeah, she told you so, and good for her. I'll be happy because it means we won games. Or we're going to suck, and that's the way we feel right now, most of us. We feel down because we're going to suck. And then those things happen, those chain of events that turn us around. If I didn't have that hope, if I didn't have the hope that sucking might get us a good quarterback and then attract a new coach, if I didn't have that, there'd really be no point in being a Jet fan anymore, would there? I mean, I don't know about you, but if there was no chance, if you knew right now up front there's just no path to us ever turning this around, would you still do it? Like, what's the point? Obviously, even the most negative people out there, even Infrared, who's like freaking taking fucking candles, hot wax, and pouring it on his freaking lips to burn himself in anger. Even Infrared has some type of hope, which is why he still tunes in and why he still watches the Jets. He has some type of hope that probably he's thinking we're going to win one game next year if we're lucky. And he's probably thinking we have a chance to get a real quarterback. And he's probably thinking there's a chance they'll fire Aaron Glenn and get a real coach. If I had to guess, that's what he's probably thinking. And as like angry as he is, as much as he thinks this organization sucks, I'm thinking that he just believes that. I imagine that the laughing from Sean McAteer is the hot wax on the lips, by the way. Oh, the chats are going by too fast. The plan should be get your franchise quarterback this year, Ty Simpson, then using all. Well, look, I said it before. If they love Ty Simpson, they'll take him at 16. If they love him, they'll take him at 16. That's what they'll do. And 80% of this fan base is going to lose their mind, man. They're going to flip their lid. They're going to be pissed off. And if he's good, then tank for Ty, you're going to be held as a hero around here. A guy who knows his stuff. At DayngerZone, with 5 first round picks, they brought 3 years for me to see them all pan out. I need 5 Garretts, though, not 5 Breeses. Yeah, that's true. Lie Simpson is Rosen Whedon 2.0. He's garbage. Rusty Spooner likes the 5.9 guy. Rusty Spooner is saying that the guy who's 5'9" tall is going to be the first quarterback under 5'10" in 50, 60 years. Not only to play in the NFL, but he's going to be good. Rusty, you're a funny one. You're a funny guy, Rusty. You're an Italian. I like it. I know you eat the pasta. Rusty Spooner. I'm in the witness protection program. Hey. Danger said, what's Vegas odds for us next year? If you had a guess on 2-1, the odds for the Jets to the under over. Oh my God, it's got to be 4 games. I think the under over will be 4 games. And you know what? I would never bet on it. I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot ball. Wouldn't touch it. Oscar Germany, I think we should stack the team with weapons on both sides of the ball this year. Then in 27, we shift our focus on Jeremiah Smith and getting our franchise quarterback. Wouldn't it be great? Can you imagine if imagine the scenario. I want you to dream, okay? I want you to dream. And Rusty, you'll love this, Rusty. You're going to come all over yourself when you hear this. Imagine the Jets and the Colts have the first and second picks, so we have 1 and 2. Imagine if we had 1 and 2 next year. And imagine we take Arch Manning. Arch Manning and Jeremiah Smith. I'm betting the over. More fun to root for the team. Yeah, I mean, I guess you bet an amount you can afford to lose, which is what I do. I gamble responsibly. So, Justin, that's a great comment. Thank you, my brother at Sean McIntyre. I appreciate that. 16 ideas, snatching up something like that. Oscar says that would be sick. It's not impossible. It's not impossible that we could end up with the number 1 and the number 2 pick in the draft overall. That would be the most incredible thing. It's definitely never happened. It's definitely never happened, right? I can't imagine that it's ever happened. Rusty's saying Manning and Jeremiah Smith would be amazing. You think? Yeah. Can you imagine? You have Garrett Wilson already, and then he becomes the WR2 or the WR1B. And Jeremiah Smith comes in as your freaking elite stud. And you have Garrett Wilson and freaking Jeremiah Smith. and Arch Manning and our offensive line isn't horrible. Can you imagine that? Oh my God. And then you just use all the other picks for defense, right? You make all the other, unless Mason Taylor doesn't take a step up. But if Mason Taylor takes a step up and he's a decent tight end, and then you got to look at whatever the running back, but running back we can get in free agency, man. I say then you go all defense. So you know what I mean? If you have Arch Manning, good offensive line, I mean, good elite receivers, a good tight end. I mean, come on, now just stack the defense, man. Go nuts on the defense. But all that stuff could happen. I'm not saying we're going to end up with the first and second pick. I know the odds aren't great, but it could happen. The Colts lost the last 7 games of the year. They don't have a quarterback. They completely imploded. It could happen. And the Jets, I don't have to give you an argument of why the Jets could end up with the top 2 pick. I think you all know that. Jeremy, you study psychology, so you'll get me. I can't just be miserable, hopeless with something I'm choosing to spend time on. It makes me miserable. I'll find something else. Fandom is a choice. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that I definitely agree. I agree with that you have to hold on to hope. Like, I totally agree with that. I think otherwise you're wasting your time. And I think that you could still try to be positive and have hope, but admit that there's an issue, like what's going on with our coaching staff and the hirings and the firings. And a rookie coach comes in, is bragging about how he got to pick his own staff and how he believes in all these guys, and then had to fire them all. You could agree that that's not good and still have hope. 2 things could be true. You could say, I still have hope, even though it looks like a shit show. Maybe he'll end up with decent coaches. Maybe they'll get some quarterback to come in here, and maybe it'll all come together and they'll play better and start to, or what I said, hey, and I think you're saying that if we end up sucking, there's hope because we can end up fixing a lot of things. You have to have that. I understand the psychology of it. There's no point. The day you run out of hope, there is no point. Why stay a fan if you don't have hope? It's all we've ever had as Jet fans is hope. Tank says, Jeremy, if we get our quarterback this year, we could certainly get a game changer in Jeremiah Smith next year, no doubt, along with 2 or 3 other elite players at key positions other than quarterback. Look, Tank, if they take Ty Simpson, I will root for him as hard as you do. Like, I'm not going to be Mr. Negative and say that was a stupid pick. He sucks. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be concerned. I don't know if I like it, but I'm going to stay positive. If they take Ty Simpson, I'm going to stay positive. What about you, Dano? You're going to root for him, right, if we take him?
Yeah, little tank for Ty coming in and taking his victory up. Mic check.
Yeah, I hear you a little bit. It's not great, but what happened, man? What's going on there?
All right. Do you?
No, it's fine.
I
Is
don't
there a
know,
storm?
man. No. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I apologize. Keep cooking, brother. You got this.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up anyway. A few minutes, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. The internet is not agreeing with him. No. It's making you feel like you're on mushrooms. I know even when he comes in, the quality is so bad. Look, I've said it before. My strategy this year is to load up on players, as many as we can, even trading back. Get more picks, do whatever it takes. We have so many spots to fill. Draft. Bring in young guys, young blood. They probably won't be good in a year. That won't do the trick. We don't have enough picks, which is fine because then we'll have great picks next year, and then we can get our guy and we could do and spend all the money then. And I'm totally willing to pack it in and do that. But if they take Ty Simpson and that's what they want to do, then I'm going to be the first guy in line saying, please, oh God, oh please let him be good. And let me tell you something. The biggest knock I have against him is that he's only played 15 games, and that doesn't mean he can't end up being a good NFL quarterback just because he's only played 15 games, right? That's not like evidence or a guarantee that he's not going to be a good quarterback, right? It's obviously a concern. It means there's a lack of evidence because you don't have enough to go by, and statistically, it hasn't went well. Statistically, there's not a lot of examples of quarterbacks in the NFL that played less, 15 or less games in college and then turn out to be franchise quarterbacks. It just doesn't happen. But you know what? There's a first time for everything, right? So things happen. And things, so you just got to hope, right? You just got to hope. You got to hope. I know Rusty doesn't like them, but you can't tell me on film that some of those throws aren't great throws. I mean, there's film of him dropping the ball in the breadbasket. You know the thing where it comes looping in and drops in their freaking breadbasket? He has throws like that, and that's the hardest, I think the hardest throw to make in football for a quarterback is the corner end zone over the head, drop the ball in the basket. It's like it's got to be up there as one of the hardest throws. And when you have a quarterback who can make all the regular throws and throw in the seam and throw between the safety and the cornerback and do all that stuff, and then they could drop one into the breadbasket once in a while or go down the sideline and do that, I just, I gotta say the guy has a chance. The guy has a chance to be good. Yeah, I got ink on mine. You saw that? Yeah, look at that. That's the L train, baby. I grew up in Canarsie. So yeah, I found that online. A picture I found, like one of the old L trains. It didn't have Brooklyn on it, but I told the tattoo artist, I said, if you can write Brooklyn in graffiti, because there was something else written on the train that I found the picture of, and he just used the word Brooklyn instead. So yeah, that's ink on my arm. That's not the only ink, man. I got this too. See that? That's commitment to a channel, huh? So, yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. Infrared doesn't want hope either. He wants Infrared. Now, this came from you, Infrared, not me. I didn't say it, Infrared, but it turns out that Infrared would prefer to suck giraffe balls, like get under a giraffe and suck the balls of a giraffe. That's what Infrared would prefer than having hope for this team. So okay, answer this one on screen. Would you rather have Diego Pavia start for the Jets for all 17 games this year, or attend a sauna with Johnny Boy for 1 hour every week for the next 52, no towels? I would be happy if we started Diego Pavia at quarterback for 17 games. And here's why. There's two possible outcomes to that scenario. Or maybe there's some in between, but I'm going to say the likely thing is either two things are going to happen, right? If he plays all 17 games. One option is Rusty Spooner is a fucking stud. Like Rusty Spooner is the prognosticator of all prognosticators, the prospector of all prospectors. And that Pavia starts all 17 games, and by the last 5, 6, or 7 games starts to flash and look really good. And oh my God, like we may have our quarterback. And we got him in the freaking 4th round at 105 or whatever. Right? And we got all of our picks, and then we could use all of our picks next year. Right? And then the other option is he's what everybody else thinks he is, and he absolutely sucks. He's 5'9". He can't see over their heads. He's throwing interceptions, and we go 1-16. And then we bring in Arch Manning. So, if Diego Pavia wants to come in here and play, I see we have a couple of, good outcomes. Like, I think it could be a good thing. And then Rusty gets his chance, man. We get to see if Pavia is the guy. Super chat for Scott Foster. We appreciate that. Put that back up there. Starting new internet fund for Dane. We appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, Pavia is probably I don't think he's going to go undrafted, but he's going to probably be a day 3 pick. We could bet, late day 3 pick, probably. How big are draft balls? I don't know. I'm just telling you that Infrared said something like he wanted to suck giraffe balls rather than hold on to hope. I didn't know he was into giraffes. I didn't know. But apparently, Infrared said it, not me. I'm just reading back what you said, man. I don't know, man. Your words, man. You're into that kind of thing. That's you, man. You be you. You be you. I hope you get consent from the giraffe. It's a win-win, Jeremy, and we can get Pavi in the 6th or 7th round. It's a win-win. Too bad the Cardinals and Rams both left St. Louis, because that would be the perfect town for Arch to play in. How come? Why St. Louis? Why would that be the perfect town for him to play in? What am I missing? Arch Manning. Oh, Arch. Because the Arch is there's a thing in St. Louis, some Arch, right? That's what you're talking about. Tell me how many quarterbacks have the Jets developed. Don't think Tomlin will want to work for Johnson. That's probably not at me, because I didn't mention that. The St. Louis Arch. I was right, though. I figured it out. I figured it out. I figured it out. If there was a player named Needle, I would say, oh, maybe they should play for the Seahawks. Get it? Space Needle. Tank for Ty. I can never say his name right. With LaFleur hired by the Cardinals, I bet we start to hear reports that they are interested in Ty at 3. There are already reports that Miami really likes Ty and will consider him at 11. Well, if they do, that they do. If they take him, they take him. Thoughts on Mike LaFleur now being a head coach? Well, Matt O'Leary predicted it the day we fired him. He said, watch, when he went to the Rams. No, the day he went to the Rams, O'Leary said he'll be a head coach within 3 years. The day he went to the Rams, he goes, that's it, head coach within 3 years. Yeah, there was one guy, his name was Gitmo Bob. Real Jeff fan, real nasty guy. And right from, like, knows nothing about football, but thinks because he's an old guy, he knows about football. Oh, I saw Namath play. But he was an uneducated guy. A guy who's not very bright. And he sat there saying, LaFleur. All he wanted to do is turn everybody against Mike LaFleur and blame Mike LaFleur. And anytime you gave him a reasonable argument and said, hey, Gitmo Bob, how come Mike LaFleur runs a top 10 NFL offense when anybody not named Zach Wilson is the quarterback of this team? We had backup guys. Mike White, that other guy, Johnson, that journeyman. It didn't matter who played quarterback for us. If it wasn't Zach Wilson, we were throwing, our quarterback was throwing for 350 plus yards. We were scoring more points and getting more yards than any other team in the league. Small sample size. But Woody Johnson stuck his nose in and wanted somebody to suffer and wanted to blame someone. And Mike LaFleur had a fall on a sword. And it was nonsense. And the proof of that is that one of the most respected head coaches in the NFL scooped him right up. So there you go. Stupid. We had a real offensive coordinator in LaFleur. We did. If you really look at the scheme and the game plan, if you really looked at it, it was good. It was good. If you look at the players we had, it was good. Better than it was supposed to be. Oh, chaos is the type that sucks giraffe balls with stolen Palestinian hummus recipes. What the fuck are you talking about? I can't imagine Pavia interview. What? Okay. The Jets don't have to tank for Ty. They are already there. That's true. I can't imagine Pavia interviewing well. He seems like a little dick. He is. He's an asshole. By the way, I'm sorry, Rusty, but he is an asshole. Not only did he cry like a little baby when he didn't win the Heisman Trophy, but when Dom C at the Senior Bowl, I was at the Senior Bowl for 2 years in a row. We approached 50 players in those 2 years, easy. Every single one of them, when we approached them, said yes to an interview. Every single one of them. Dom C went to Pavia this year, went up to him. He was standing there, just kind of doofing around, walking towards the locker room, and said, "Can I have an interview?" During the press time when they're supposed to be giving interviews. And he said, "No, I'm busy." And just kind of was goofing around, like doing nothing for the next 5 minutes or whatever it is. He's a dick. He's an obnoxious little asshole. But if he could play quarterback, I'll take it. Or if he comes in, could go 0-17 for us and get us. Yeah, he could be the guy that gets us Arch Manning. Thank you. Or he could be the guy that he's a dick, but we win games. You know what I mean? So I heard Paul looked at Dom's credentials before he said that. I don't know why you would take a shot at Dom Say, the one guy who actually looks at film and actually gives real educated information to people, other than just watching highlight reels and listening to what other people say and repeating it. So I don't know why you'd say anything negative about Dom Say. Kidding, miserable Jets fan who wants a franchise quarterback. It's Pavia, nor Paul. Pavia, nor Paul. Damn, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, I'm gonna end it, guys. I'm gonna end it here. So, like, get your last bit of chat in for me to read out before I close this show out. It really goes. How about stealing? It's a copycat league. I have no problem being a copycat, like, infrared. No problem at all. If whatever ideas they want to steal, concepts they want to steal, I do it all the time. I look at winning teams all the time. That's a lot of my takes are based on looking at winning teams and saying we should do what they do. Right? We should do what they do. That's why I'm a coach quarterback guy. Because yes, there are outliers. But if you look at all the freaking dynasties, what do they have in common? Coach and quarterback. Coach, quarterback, quarterback, coach, quarterback. That's what dynasties have, right? Are there outliers? Yes. Have there been teams that won Super Bowls without great quarterbacks? Yes. Have there been teams that win Super Bowls without great coaches? Yes. Dynasties, though? I don't know, man. I grew up with freaking Parcells Giants. Phil Simms was a damn good quarterback, man. He wasn't a superstar like some of the other guys people talk about, but, man, he was 24 for like 27 in the Super Bowl. He was a damn good quarterback. Parcells was a special coach, man, because he did it with Hostetler. But that team had lights out defense, and all they did was run the ball. And, like, he found a way. That's an outlier, though. But the 49ers of the 80s and 90s, Bill Walsh, George Seifert, those are the two, the coaching. Those are the consecutive coaches they had. Joe Montana, Steve Young, right? Then the Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman, Jimmy Johnson. Right? Kansas City, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes. Right? The Colts got that guy from the Eagles' old coach. He came back to the Colts from the Eagles. He was that guy that turned the Eagles around in the 80s, and he came back, and with Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl. Right? I think he won the Super Bowl, or he helped turn them around and make them good again. I don't know. But, like, the point is that I'm trying to say is coach and quarterback, for the most part, typically. Like the original Shanahan, John Elway. You know what I mean? Coach and quarterback. Okay, let's see. My final thoughts. Jeremy, Rucker didn't deserve a second contract, and I stand by that. Okay. Also, Jermaine, but he didn't get a lot of money, so it doesn't really matter. Also, Jermaine Johnson and Will McDonald aren't premier pass rushers. Yes, but Jermaine Johnson is a solid, really good edge. He's not a premier pass rusher, but he's a really good edge. And what I mean by that is you can't only go by sacks. Jermaine Johnson, and give him the year off the Achilles, give him this year to see where he is. Because remember, the year back after an Achilles is always challenging. He seals the edge. He seals the edge, man. He stops the run. He doesn't leave his lane. Like, there's something to be said about that. You could still be a good edge and not be a big sack guy. He might be a guy that gets 6 to 8 sacks. That's what he might end up being. But if he seals the edge really well, and then we get a stud on the other end like Bain, you get a guy like Bain, and he's your guy that gets like your 12 to 16, 17. He's your stud. And then Will McDonald is a pass rush specialist that just, and he could get he got 11. So then suddenly if you become a more complete team, maybe he can get back to that. If he's just a pass rush specialist that gets like 10 sacks or whatever, I don't want to pay him a lot, though. I'm not saying Will McDonald is someone you have to pay. But Jermaine Johnson is a very solid jet. Like, he's solid at the position. He seals the edge. He stops the run. He's a Robin. We need Batman. So I'll say it that way. Jermaine Johnson is Robin. He's really good, man. He's good to have, right? You need him. You need that second guy, especially to seal the edge. We need our Batman. Bane could be Batman. Reese could be Batman. We'll find out. And with that, I will let you all go. and have an amazing week. Remember, I'll be back on decide if we want to keep JJ. No, you can have Bane and JJ if we don't have no, Garrett won't catch it. All right. We'll talk about that another time, Oscar. But we could definitely have Bane and JJ together. We need that. We desperately need that. You're replacing Michael Clemens with Bane. Think about how amazing that would be. Yeah, but Sonny Styles are not going to take it too, Rusty, and you know that. So we're going to have to wait. Hope he's there at 16. But anyway, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, Matt O'Leary's channel. I'll be there. You might notice that I have this thing up. It says, check out Brooklyn Brothers Food Review. You just type in Brooklyn Brothers Food Review. It's a lot of fun. You'll like it. We're reviewing food. If you look at the older videos, there's me and my brothers doing a show called Hot Scores. You get to watch me eat the last dab and all kinds of ridiculous hot sauces. My whole head turns red. It's a trip. But anyway, guys, take care. Be good. I'm going to let Dano end the show now. Dano, hit the music. You know, I'm convinced we're the most cursed team in professional sports.
You guys are bad.
You know, I've been saying this hot take for a long time, and I'm sticking to it. My hot take is that Will McDonald's going to hit 15 sacks.
No member of the New York Jets' Week 1 offensive line will miss a game all year.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time! So get ready to rumble!